It's Nolan.
Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
It seems I've been missing from the scene, but I'm always coming right back. In the city, just a couple niggas with me, cause I know I gotta watch my back. And I'ma be the realest when the dog falls out. And I'ma still be standing when the sky fall out. They say it's gang gang till it's time to roll out. But when them things bang, where them niggas at now? Real nigga for life. They thought I disconnected from my essence, Rocking shades, but never blocking my blessings, Come from a place where it's dreary like fatal fury. The hardest fight that you face is a jury. We never worried, nigga. Ain't seen a marriage providers coming, we grown for it. Gun smoking, new parts, death and stuff in new force. True gold, blue tour, shooting at your coupe door. Niggas catch a body, then rap about it on TuneCore. That's why I'm distant in my DMs. Rappers trying to be friends, but I don't think the meet's in. I've been on some business building LinkedIn, signature like in stores. Won't even touch your fucking track without an invoice. Develop habits to elevate in my brackets. I notice most of my peers to get comfortable being stagnant over 10 years, trying to plant my feet in the ground. But not a taste of victory is about as sweet as it sound. Yeah.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday afternoon, man. I know I did not come to y'all with any content yesterday, but your boy was, I wasn't feeling it, man. You know what I'm saying? Just in terms of being tired and being inundated with an overload of information, stuff going on in the news, going on in the world. I was just like, man, I'm disconnected today. Let me take some time and just hone in on my family, man. Fuck all the other shit. So while I was taking that time, I was informed last night that executives over at TDE have been hit with some, let's just say, very harmful claims, some very serious claims. And we're going to address them today. We're going to go through the actual filing and lawsuit because they're talking about basically gender-motivated crimes happening in the TDE studio and or home owned by TDE executives. And we're going to get into some of the names that are being called. This has been filed by two unnamed anonymous women. At this time, they are unnamed. But of course, as we've seen with numerous other cases, it can be revealed at a later time. As of right now, we have Jane Doe and Jane Roe. And yeah, man. So it's not looking good. We've got Brandon Tiffith and Anthony Tiffith Jr. That's Top Dog's son. Still trying to figure out what Brandon's relation is. If he's also Top's son. Or because they all got the same last name. But yeah, man, this is not looking good. Now, what I have seen from a lot of people online is they feel that the timing of this is a little strange, which I must agree. We're about a week out from the Super Bowl, and this hits the streets. You feel me? But nonetheless, it has to be taken seriously. Right? Because these are serious allegations. This could have serious implications on TDE as a label. And of course, it's going to affect the artists that are signed over there. Anthony Tiffith Jr., that's Musa. That's Doechie's manager, day-to-day person. He was just on stage accepting awards with her and for her, talking about the process of developing her and allowing her to blossom into her own person in the industry. We were just literally saluting him 2 months ago. So, yeah, man, it has to be taken seriously. But there are some people out there that do believe this could be a deliberate smear campaign. That's always a possibility, but I'm not going to come in here and just say off top that's what it is because I don't know. But I'm going to go to the paperwork. There's about 10 pages in the filing. And what I don't like is that people are spreading this information across the internet and they're showing pictures of Kendrick Lamar. A lot of articles especially the ones that were, the first to be released. Although it said TDE and TDE executives, they had photos of Kendrick as if he was the executive that was being accused. I thought that was very irresponsible. I thought that was very, very much so lacking of journalistic integrity. But y'all know how the game go. Ain't nothing new there. But let's get into the actual filing, shall we? Now, the text is a little bit small on this. The user that shared this on social media is a TDE Kendrick Lamar hater by the name of King Jared. So shout out to you for paying for the documents to be put out there. But I don't know what you think you're gonna accomplish. But let's get to it. You know what I'm saying? So apparently this this paperwork was filed on December 6th. I believe everyone was served their papers in the middle of last month, and now it's finally making its way to the press. Okay. So again, these are Jane Doe and Jane Roe plaintiffs, right? And this is versus Top Dog Entertainment LLC, Brandon Tiffith, Anthony Tiffith Jr., David Harrell, and Doe's 1 to 10 inclusive, because they also have complaints against other smaller employees within the company. Okay. So here is where it all begins. Okay. Introduction. Defendant Top Dog Entertainment, TDE, is an independent record label specializing in hip hop and R&B artists, best known for launching the careers of several prominent artists. Plaintiff Jane Doe was hired to perform public relations and marketing services for TDE. During the course of her performance of work for TDE, she was subject to inappropriate workplace behavior, including sexual harassment and assault by officers and executives of the company. Moreover, Ms. Doe was not adequately compensated for the services she performed for TDE, which reneged on its contract for payment, and refused to pay her what she was owed. Plaintiff Jane Roe was a friend to one of the artists signed by TDE. We don't know which artist that is. They're keeping the artists away from this at this time. Hereinafter, artist A. In exchange for her providing moral support to artist A, TDE provided her room and board at a house owned by TDE that doubled as a studio. Is that Top's house? During her stay at the TDE property, Roe was sexually harassed twice by TDE employees, one of whom gave her alcohol despite her being underage. Oh my goodness. In an attempt to further sexual advances. So this woman, underage, I'm guessing under the age of 21. Not under the age of 18, I'm assuming, but we'll keep going. TDE's leadership knew about these instances of sexual abuse, as well as the failure to properly compensate Ms. Doe, yet took no action to prevent further violations, discipline the individuals involved, or offer supportive services to plaintiffs. Okay, so parties. Plaintiff Jane Doe is a California resident who performed services for TDE from 2019 through the beginning of 2024. So she worked for 5 years as an employee at TDE. Okay, Plaintiff Jane Roe is an Arizona resident who was sexually harassed by TDE employees between 2020 and 2021 while living in a home provided by TDE. So there's two stories are different. They say Jane Doe was hired to perform public relations and she was subject to inappropriate workplace behavior, sexual harassment, and she wasn't paid for her work, right? Jane Roe was there for moral support of an artist on the label between 2020 and 2021. She lived in the TDE house that doubled as a studio where she was also sexually harassed, but not money problems, okay? So defendant Top Dog Entertainment LLC is a California corporation with a principal place of business located at, we're not going to say, not going to give out people's residences and stuff. Defendant Anthony Tiffith Jr. is the president of TDE. and resides in Los Angeles County. Mr. Tiffith is also known as, under the pseudonym Musa. Okay. Defendant David Harrell. Well, who's the other person? So that's Brandon Tiffith. He's the chief marketing officer at TDE. You have David Harrell is an employee of TDE. The true names and capacities of those 1 through 10 inclusive are unknown to plaintiff, who such defendants by use of such fictitious names. Plaintiff will amend this complaint to add the true names when they are ascertained. Plaintiff is informed and believe and thereon allege that each of the fictitiously named defendants is legally responsible for the occurrences herein alleged, and that plaintiff's damages as herein alleged were approximately caused by their conduct. On information and belief, at all times herein mentioned, each defendant was the agent, partner, joint venturer, representative, or employee of the remaining defendants and was acting within the course and scope of such agency, partnership, joint venture, or employment. In engaging in the conduct described below, the defendants were all acting with the express or implied knowledge, consent, authorization, approval, or ratification of their co-defendants. Okay, this was filed in Los Angeles. Factual allegations, professional services, and unpaid compensation owed to Jane Doe. 2017, Mr. Tiffith Jr. initiated discussions with Ms. Doe about joining TDE to handle PR and brand marketing. In 2019, he formally engaged her services to work with artist A, agreeing to compensate her at a monthly rate. However, it says TDE did not compensate Ms. Doe at her agreed upon monthly rate. Finally, in May 2020, defendant Tiffith Jr. acknowledged that financial constraints had prevented him from properly compensating Ms. Doe as agreed, and instead offered her a co-management position for artist A in exchange for a 10% management fee, that is 10% of the total compensation the artist received upon signing a record deal. And Tiffith Jr., that's Musa. And again, we say that he worked with Doechii. We know Doechii got signed during the pandemic. I can't say that this is somebody who was assisting her. I'm just saying it sounds like it. You know what I'm saying? That's tough, man. So because he could not pay her out of his own money, he gave her a co-management position for this artist that was at the time looking for a record deal. Now remember, TDE, they manage artists within the TDE camp, and then they get them signed to a larger label, and then it's TDE / whatever. Sounds a lot like somebody working with Doechii. Unless y'all know somebody else that was signed over there looking for a deal. Could be Ray Vaughn too, but I don't know. Could be Reason. I don't know. I think Reason was already there though. Anyway, so 10% management fee, that is 10% of the total compensation the artist received upon signing a record deal, which I find very interesting because that means he's kind of forfeiting a piece of that. They must have been splitting 20%, busting down to 20. Ms. Doe and Mr. Tiffith Jr. agreed that this 10% would be consideration for past uncompensated services that Ms. Doe had performed for TDE. In March 2023, artist A signed a deal with Warner Records for a multi-million-dollar figure. However, TDE refused to provide Ms. Doe with the agreed upon 10% management fee compensation. Who was at Warner? Who signed a deal with Warner in 2023? Y'all got to give me a second. Based on the information that I've been able to find, it's not actually Doechii. It would be Alameda. She's got a deal with Warner Music. However, her Warner deal was announced last year. The paperwork here says that she signed a deal in 2023. So that would also kind of unveil a little bit of the record label magic tricks that they do when they announce a deal. They've been developing an artist for some time. They putting music out independently, no label attached. We got the announcement that she was even with TDE last year, but it seems she was already within the camp for some time. And then they announced all of it together in 2024 that she's TDE and Warner. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we can remove Doechii from that. Because she's with Capitol, by the way, multi-million-dollar figure. And she's not even like a major act. Not yet, anyway. Interesting. Anyway, back to the lawsuit. TDE refused to provide Miss Doe with the agreed upon 10% management fee for compensation. So she signs the deal, or let's just say the artist signs the deal. And this lady that is working with the artist never got their guaranteed money. So they never got the money from prior years and never got their cut off of the record deal, allegedly. Next up, sexual battery and harassment for Jane Doe. In January 2021, Miss Doe was the victim of sexual battery perpetuated by defendant Brandon Tiffith. Okay. And of course, they say that Brandon is the chief marketing officer at the label. Okay. So they say defendant Tiffith made unwelcome sexual advances, forcibly removed Miss Doe's clothing, and attempted to forcibly engage in sexual intercourse and oral sex without consent. Miss Doe was also subjected to ongoing sexual harassment by defendant Anthony Tiffith Jr. throughout the tenure providing services for TDE. This harassment included unwelcome romantic overtures, inappropriate comments suggesting she utilized sexual favors for professional gain, and the unsolicited sharing of explicit material, including a video of an individual engaging in intimate activities with another woman. Hold on. So, if I'm not mistaken, Jane Doe worked there for 5 years. By the second year working there, she was forcibly attacked, allegedly, and continued to work there. And then she also was subjected to the same treatment from the other guy, allegedly. And then he sent her video of himself engaging in intimate activities with another woman. Mr. Tiffith Jr. also used Miss Doe's home as a covert location at which to cheat on his partner, bringing various women to the home and engaging in sex with them in Miss Doe's guest bedroom. Now, how? Artist A signed a deal with Warner. Right. Jane Roe was working with Artist A. But this whole story is on Jane Doe. Y'all get what I'm saying? I'm going to keep going because I'll be stuck on this all day. But we don't know anything about Jane Doe's home. So she's not living with TDE. He just literally took over your house without having no dominion over it. Just forced you to allow him to cheat on his girl with people in your crib. That's what we're reading here. This is strange. This is strange. But maybe they just thugging it like that. You know what I'm saying? Allegedly. Maybe they just taking over motherfuckers' homes and doing what they want, you know? Cause this is serious talk here. So maybe they just have no regard for anything. Okay? I'm gonna keep going. Mr. Tiffith Jr. also used Miss Doe's home as a covert location at which to cheat on his partner, bringing various women to the home and engaging in sex with them in her guest bedroom. Sexual assault and harassment of Jane Roe. So this is Jane Roe. In late 2020, Plaintiff Roe, a friend of Artist A, so both of y'all were working for Artist A, moved to California to provide her moral support in her career. TDE considered this a valuable service, and in exchange for support of Artist A, TDE provided Miss Roe with room and board in a TDE-owned property. While residing there, Ms. Rowe was subjected to multiple instances of harassment and assault by TDE employees. I think it's pretty locked in here that we're talking about Alameda, because Alameda is also from Arizona, right? She's originally from Ethiopia, but she grew up in Arizona. And the plaintiff, Jane Rowe, is also from Arizona, and a friend that's coming for moral support in LA. So that's who this has to be about. Is artist A is Alameda. In November or December 2020, so they say or, so it's not certain which month, a TDE employee known as B Dog approached Miss Rowe from behind in the kitchen and without consent rubbed his erect genitalia against her buttocks on 2 separate occasions. So this is a separate person known as B Dog. I was trying to see if I could find any information on this B Dog person, but I can't find anything. So I'll continue. Approached Miss Rowe from behind. We got that. In January 2021, defendant David Harrell was asked by artist A to drive Miss Rowe to the TDE studio. On the way, Mr. Harrell stated that he needed to stop at his home to grab some documents for Mr. Tiffith Jr., aka Musa. After bringing Miss Rowe inside, he coerced her into consuming an alcoholic beverage. So what's being stated here is that TDE is full of nasty niggas. This is what is being alleged. Because we now have 4 members of the label being brought up on sexual harassment and other sexual related gender-based crimes on 2 women. He's supposed to be taking her to the studio, and on the way he says, I need to stop and grab some documents for Musa. After bringing Miss Rowe inside, he coerced her into consuming an alcoholic beverage despite knowing she was under the age of 21. After Miss Rowe had consumed the beverage, Mr. Harrell began taking off Miss Rowe's clothes without her consent and attempted to force himself onto her to engage in sexual activity. Miss Rowe was able to escape and ran out of the home. Okay? Now, who is David Harrell? Based on my limited findings of David Harrell, he's also an assistant manager over at TDE. Happened to find him in the credits of Kendrick Lamar's Damn album. So he's an assistant manager over there. First cause of action, plaintiff hereby reallege and incorporate by reference all paragraphs above. Cause of action. Okay, so we basically have all of these things. Over the course of this relationship, defendant Tiffith Jr. and Tiffith intentionally made unconsented sexual advances toward plaintiff and engaged in verbal and visual conduct of a sexual nature based on gender. Defendant Tiffith Jr. and Tiffith's conduct was unwelcome and pervasive. Defendant Tiffith Jr. and Tiffith's conduct was ratified by defendant TDE, which had knowledge of said conduct, but took no actions to prevent it. At all relevant times, defendant Tiffith and Tiffith Jr. were managing agents of defendant TDE. So this is all the same. Plaintiff Doe did not consent to touching. Plaintiff Doe was harmed and offended by touching. A reasonable person in Plaintiff Doe's situation would have been offended by this touching. So they're just restating how all of the alleged actions that were taken and offenses that were bestowed upon them were all unwelcome. Okay? 5th cause of action, breach of contract, common law. Plaintiffs hereby reallege and incorporate by reference all paragraphs above as if to set forth detail. This cause of action is brought by plaintiff against defendant TDE. Plaintiff and defendant TDE entered into a contract under which plaintiff would perform services in exchange for compensation in the amount of 10% of the record deal signed by the TDE artist she co-managed. Defendant Anthony Tiffith Jr., the president of the company, entered into the agreement on behalf of TDE. Plaintiff performed all services the contract required. TDE failed to compensate plaintiff under the terms of the contract. Plaintiff was therefore economically harmed, as she was not financially compensated for the time, effort, and resources she spent performing her contractual services. Defendant TDE's breach of contract was a substantial factor in causing plaintiff's harm. You know, I can't go up for anybody. I don't know these people, never met these people. I respect their label and their artists and what they've been able to accomplish in the industry. But if that's the type of environment that y'all have fostered in this label, I can't excuse y'all not one bit. Prayer for relief. Wherefore plaintiff prays for judgment against defendant as follows: for actual and compensatory damages according to proof pursuant to all applicable laws and regulations. B, for civil and statutory penalties available under applicable law, for pre-judgment and post-judgment interest, for punitive damages, for an award of attorney's fees, costs, and expenses as authorized by applicable law, for such other and further relief as this court may deem just and proper, and for trial by jury on all causes of action so triable. All right. So this was drafted by Arns Davis Law on December 3rd. I believe it was sent through the courts December 6th. TDE representatives were served on January 17th. So this is something that's been brewing for 2 months. And all of a sudden, it's out. And again, Certified Jared, this is a Drake fan page that released the paperwork. The paperwork is legit, though. I just wasn't finna pay for it. I saw previews of this in the actual court documents. I just wasn't finna pay for it. Okay. But again, I do find the timing of this coming out to the public a week before the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people that have been actually waiting to see what was going to happen in these next, 8 days, to see like what was going to come out. Because people have been predicting that there was going to be some type of scandal of some sort to try to do a last minute ditch effort to prevent Kendrick from taking the stage. This ain't going to do it. This has nothing to do with Kendrick Lamar. He's no longer even signed to the label. He's still affiliated with the label, still works with the label. He was just there with them for TDE Christmas. Of course, he's about to tour with SZA, who's still signed over there. He said Doechie's the hardest out, who's still signed over there. So the connection is still strong. He rapped about, all the core members on the GNX album. We saw the core members in Not Like Us. They've been clued in on pretty much everything that Kendrick has had going on. However, he is not still signed to the label. So whatever they have going on at this current point, as far as their business practices. Now, this stuff did allegedly happen while he was still there. We'll say that much, or at least some of it. But none of this has anything to do with him specifically, right? So I want to make sure we get that in the clear as well, because again, there's publications out there that are trying to put this out there, and they're utilizing Kendrick's photo and image because, of course, without his photo and image, who knows who Musa and Brandon are? They have their own people that know who they are in the industry, but they're not front-facing people. They're executives behind the scenes. So there's some interesting tactics going on there. Again, this stuff has been sitting for 2 months, and it conveniently drops exactly a week before the Super Bowl. Now, as it pertains to what allegedly happened, what was actually filed, the allegations are stating that at least 4 members of the label are responsible for trying to sexually harass or force themselves upon women within the last few years. That's unacceptable if true. Y'all gonna have to sit in that. Y'all gonna have to deal with that. Y'all gonna have to fire some niggas, possibly. Have to fire some family, possibly. But again, we will have to see how this thing develops. We'll have to see how TDE, how Top Dog and his his sons respond to this. If there's any proof that can salvage their reputation, we shall see. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Become an insider. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rags. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef on computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I've been dropping these haters like calories. First I'm out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.